Leanne Elliston, and I'm an accredited practicing dietitian with Nutrition Australia. I'm also a mum of 2 school-aged children and know too well the lunchbox dread that's hitting us all at this time of year. To be honest, even for me, someone with the knowledge, skills and background to create the perfect nutritionally balanced lunchbox, every now and then I still struggle putting it all together. So it's with great pleasure that I'm thrilled to be launching Nutrition Australia's Healthy Lunchbox Week. Consider this week as your inspirational kickstart to help you get back into lunchbox mode and pull off some great lunchbox combos. We've added some great useful fact sheets that will help you get lunchbox ready with this webinar, and you'll be able to click straight into them on the right-hand side of your screen. If you have trouble accessing them or would like to get them at some other time, you will also be able to grab them from our Nutrition Australia Healthy Lunchbox Week webpage. Of course, at Nutrition Australia, we're all about inspiring healthy eating. So yes, there is a focus on keeping that lunchbox healthy because after all, we do all want our children to learn and grow to their fullest potential. So in celebrating our first Healthy Lunchbox Week, we are absolutely thrilled to be working with the Grains and Legumes Nutrition Council, who, like us, are also a registered health promotion charity that really care about the health of Australians. So without any further ado, I have the absolute pleasure of welcoming Felicity Curtain, who is an accredited practicing dietitian and nutrition manager with the Grains and Legumes Nutrition Council. Felicity is going to present the following fantastic webinar on keeping lunchboxes real. And she's also going to talk about ways that we can bring back the sandwich. So thank you so much, Felicity, for being here, and over to you.
Thanks so much, Leanne, for that fantastic introduction. And we are so excited to be collaborating with Nutrition Australia to support Healthy Lunchbox Week. I suppose, all parents want the same thing for their kids, and that's to send them to school with a healthy lunch that they'll eat and enjoy. But in reality, we know that it just isn't always so easy. So today we'll try and simplify that process and even maybe make it enjoyable. Like Leanne was saying, like Nutrition Australia, the Grains and Legumes Nutrition Council, or GLNC, we're a health promotion charity, and we're the independent authority on the health benefits of grains and legumes. We work across the entire value chain, from paddock to plate. We keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening in the research space and share that with health professionals, the food industry, and the community. Ultimately, our goal and our focus is in encouraging Australians to eat grain and legume foods as part of a healthy, balanced diet, which is where the sandwich comes back in. So summer holidays are drawing to a close, and parents are probably feeling that familiar cloud of dread above their heads because it's time to start thinking about kids' school lunches again. So how to keep school lunchboxes interesting, nutritious, and most importantly, tasty for growing kids, while at the same time keeping it stress-free is that constant battle. And many parents feel overwhelmed by packing these lunchboxes. So today, we're going to take it back to basics and give you the lowdown on how to pack a healthy, balanced lunchbox minus the stress. And we'll do that by trying to encourage you to bring back the sandwich. So first, a bit of a run through on what we'll be focusing on today. To start with, the why. Why is it so important to send kids to school with a healthy lunchbox? Then you can't have a sandwich without bread. So I'll share some results from GLNC's research around bread, what Australians are eating, and also the current evidence around bread and how it fits into a healthy diet. And also what to look for when you're choosing a healthy option for your family. Finally, you'll have access to some recipe inspiration and a simple step-by-step guide to building a delicious, well-balanced lunchbox, just in time for that back-to-school rush. Now, I want you to think back to when you were at school, whether it was 20, even 10 years ago. There's no doubt that school lunches were simple back then. It was generally, something simple like a sandwich and a piece of fruit. Now, this example on the screen may not be perfect. You could do with a bit of zhuzhing up and maybe making it a little bit more interesting and nutritious, but it was certainly low stress. Now fast forward to the digital age, and school lunches are looking a little bit more creative. A quick search on the internet and school lunchbox ideas pulls up nearly 6 million search results on Google. And there are countless blogs and Pinterest boards dedicated to building a healthy, fun, good-for-you lunchbox that kids will eat and enjoy. These pictures come from lunchboxdad.com, which is a blog created by a dad in the US. And he creates and posts about these imaginative bento lunches for his kids based on different themes and movies. And there's no doubt they're amazing and look beautiful and delicious. But for most parents who are preparing upwards of 150 lunchboxes per child per year, the idea of school lunchbox prep is more a source of stress and pressure than a creative outlet. So why does it matter? Why is a healthy lunchbox so important? Well, think about the amount of time kids spend at school. They spend a significant portion of their time there, and around a third of their energy for the day is eaten in the classroom or on the schoolyard. They're growing, learning, and developing at record rates, and they really need good quality food to fuel their busy days. And even aside from what they're eating, those primary years are a pivotal time for building and forming healthy eating habits that they'll then take forward into adolescence and adulthood. So encouraging a wide variety of different foods in their school lunchbox is key, both in the short and long term. So why not sandwiches? Well, like I said, you can't have sandwiches without bread. So let's take a look at what Australians are eating when it comes to bread and grain foods. GLNC's consumption study is conducted every 3 years, and it looks at Australians' consumption and attitudes toward grain and legume foods. We survey more than 1,000 people between 2 and 70 years of age, so it gives a really good insight into what people are eating and why they choose the foods they do. Looking at bread specifically, our study found that overall, just over 3/4 of Australians eat bread. And then looking specifically at kids, this number jumps up to 85%. So it's pretty clear that Australians, and kids especially, like bread. Then when it comes to the type of bread that Australians are eating, white bread is the most popular. That continues to be the top choice for most Australians, with 31% of bread eaten being white processed bread. That's followed by wholemeal or mixed grain bread at just under 1/4. And then third most popular choice is high fibre white bread. Interestingly, since the last consumption study in 2014, so 3 years prior, that high fibre white bread really jumped in popularity. So it went from 8% to 15% in 3 years, which is an interesting one. And I guess it shows that people want that white bread taste and texture, but they're still interested in the health benefits that bread can bring. And why do we think that we should bring back the sandwich? Well, quite simply, we know that grain foods and bread as a grain food is a really healthy choice to include as part of a healthy diet. It's jam-packed with good things. In fact, the Australian Health Survey found that grain foods like bread were the main source of 7 key nutrients in children's diets. So that includes things like fibre, folate, thiamine, even iron and zinc. So it is packed with good things. But it's also about what we eat with bread. So when you think about all the different ways we eat bread and the different foods that we have alongside it, it's pretty clear that it's a unique vehicle for a range of other nutritious foods. And when we pair it with other things like lean meat, dairy foods like cheese, and lots of veggies and salads, it can play a really key role in healthy eating. So how much should we be eating? How much bread? It falls into the grain food group, and the Australian Dietary Guidelines suggest that kids have between 4 to 6 serves from this food each day, which really depends on their age, their gender, and activity level. Now, a serve is equal to a slice of bread or half a bread roll or wrap. So that means a lunchtime sandwich would amount to 2 serves from that grain group. But the real key in making the most of this group is choosing mainly whole grain options. At GLNC, we've taken that whole grain a step further. So GLNC developed a daily target intake for whole grains, and that was developed using the research around the health benefits of whole grain. So the daily target intake for adults sits at 48 grams per day, so for adults and children over 9 years. And for children between 2 and 8 years, we recommend 32 grams of whole grain per day. The good news is it is really simple to meet your daily target intake for whole grain. So using this infographic on the screen, it's as simple as choosing 3 options from here, and of course repeats are allowed. So to put that in context, that could mean having a small bowl of muesli or high fibre cereal for breakfast, a sandwich on whole grain bread at lunchtime, and then a stir fry or a salad made with a whole grain like quinoa for dinner. And it's as simple as that to reach your daily target intake of 48 grams of whole grain. And the fact is, not all breads and grain foods are equal. So we know that whole grain foods, things like breads, whole grain breads, rice, pasta, and oats, they're made with unprocessed grains that still have all of their 3 layers intact. On the other hand, those refined grain foods like white bread, pasta, rice, or even many multi-grain breads that are made with refined white flour, they've been processed to remove that outer layer, which is where all the nutrition lies. And the research is really clear that it is those whole grains that offer the huge benefits for our health. In fact, we know people who eat grains, or specifically whole grains, are 20 to 30% less likely to gain weight, have heart disease, develop type 2 diabetes, and even suffer from bowel cancer. So choosing whole grains and whole grain bread is the best option. And the fact is, there is huge variation in the breads that are available to us, which is really no surprise when you consider how big that food category is. In fact, there's more than 450 bread products available in Australian supermarket shelves. So at GLNC, we've tried to make this a little easier. So to find out how your favourite bread stacks up, or to get inspiration about other healthy breads to add to your supermarket trolley, take a look at our newly launched searchable database for whole grain products that are registered with our Code of Practice for Whole Grain Claims. At the moment, there are more than 500 foods on this database, and it is growing. And you can filter your search by food category, so things like breakfast cereals, grains, or crackers. You can also search by brand and the level of whole grain. So head to glnc.org.au and click on the link in our homepage to land on that searchable database and double check how your bread stacks up. So back to some simple sandwich ideas that are easy to put together, taste great, but are also packed with nutritious ingredients perfect to add to the kids' lunchboxes. First, we have a roast beef and salad sandwich. Then we've got a roast pumpkin, cheese and salad sandwich, and a Mexican bean wrap. Now, what these combinations all have in common is that they've been made using leftovers from midweek dinners. We've got leftover roast beef, we've got leftover roast veggies with the pumpkin, and even some leftover taco mix. Using leftovers can make lunches quick, easy and tasty, and it also gives you the option to add extra veggies, bump up those veggies, especially with delicious things like roast pumpkin, which is a great addition and it tastes really good. So the other thing you'll notice is that we've used different breads with each of these. So yes, you can see that the pumpkin and cheese, it's made on whole grain bread, but that beef and salad sandwich is made with a smooth wholemeal bread. So if you've got kids that aren't sold on a grainy or a whole grain bread, keep an eye out for innovative products like this that we're seeing more and more of. So it's a whole grain bread, but it is made with flour that's milled so finely that it looks, tastes, and even feels like a white bread, essentially. And then, of course, you can try different formats of bread. So things like rolls and wraps like we have here always makes lunch a little bit more interesting. So these are just a few examples of the sandwich recipes that we're sharing during Healthy Lunchbox Week. And you can take a look at more of our ideas by checking out our social media channels. So that's just as easy as searching Grains, Legumes, NC on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to check out some recipe inspiration, and of course you can find out the recipe methods there too. Now here we've put together a really simple 4-step checklist for building a well-balanced lunchbox. Step number 1 is choose your main item. So this could be a sandwich or a wrap or a roll filled with lots of veggies and salad, and a protein like meat, fish, chicken or cheese. Otherwise it could be, you could mix it up with different dinner leftovers. So it might be a pasta dish or a rice dish, something like a frittata or a zucchini slice. Again, making sure there's plenty of veggies and salads in there, and a meat or alternative protein as well. Step number 2 is add your fruit or veggie snack to go along with the main item. Of course, whole fresh fruit is always the best, and it couldn't be easier to throw into the lunchbox, but otherwise it can be pre-cut and stored into small containers, which of course you can do with veggie sticks as well, which are always popular when paired with dip in a little container. So it could be hummus or tzatziki, always popular options. Step number 3, add in a second snack based on one of the core food groups. This could be a dairy-based food like a small tub of yogurt or some cheese with whole grain crackers, air-popped popcorn, or even small containers of things like baked beans or tuna. Last but not least, always remember a drink. So always remember water, particularly in these warm summer months, but plain milk can also make for a really good snack to include as well. Finally, we've got some extra tips that will make that school lunchbox process as smooth as possible. Possibly the most important element to your school lunchbox is just that. So the box or the container that your food is stored in. Now, particularly on really hot summer days, making sure your container is properly sealed and insulated is critical to making sure that your food tastes good, but also that it's safe to eat. So look for a lunchbox that includes, or at least has room to add in, an ice brick that will keep your food cool, fresh and safe to eat. Then some other practical things to consider are lunchboxes that have divided sections or compartments that mean you can add in separate foods, and could mean that you can cut down on packaging as well and keep your lunchbox nude and environmentally friendly. And also making sure that your lunchbox is easy to store and clean is important. Now, like with most things, some preparation is key when you're putting together a lunchbox. So that might mean setting aside some time at the start of the week to make a plan with a rough idea of what might go in the lunchboxes. It could mean doing a shop on a Sunday so that your fridge and cupboard is well stocked with the essentials, always keeping, the basics handy like fruit, veggies, bread, yogurt and cheese. It could mean getting organised with a bit of meal prep, so maybe making a big zucchini slice, portioning that out and freezing it so that it's then ready to defrost overnight and throw into the lunchbox the next day. But also setting aside a little bit of time each night to get the lunchbox sorted. Ideally, just after dinner so you can use the leftovers. And that means that in the morning, kids can simply grab it and go. So it's a nice stress-free morning. But finally, avoid doing all the work yourself. Getting kids involved with the shopping, the preparation, and also packing their school lunch is a great way to spur their interest in food and cooking. And there's also evidence to show that encouraging kids to be involved can have a really positive impact on their attitudes and behaviours towards food. So bring them along to the shops, get them involved and ask them what they would like in their lunchbox. So that way they're more likely to develop healthy eating habits, and if all goes well, they may be likely to take over responsibility of the lunchbox process completely by their older years. So as we get set up for another school year, let's take the pressure off. There's no need to feel stressed about making the perfectly Instagrammable lunchbox. In fact, getting back to basics and sending a simple sandwich along with a few other healthy additions is more than okay. And it's a great way to encourage healthy eating in your kids. Thanks for watching today. And for more lunchbox inspiration, definitely search our hashtag #BringBackTheSandwich. We'll be posting lots of recipe inspiration on our social media accounts this week, and we'd love to see your creations too. We're running an Instagram competition for delicious sandwich recipes, so please upload your best sandwich photos to Instagram, Twitter or Facebook using that same hashtag.